Hello, and welcome to Writer's Block. I'm your host, Adelina. Let's find your story. What are the worst things that you can do as an author? That's a good question. Um, there's quite a lot of things that people think that is the worst thing that they can do as an author, and it in fact is not. Um, even though it's a common thing that happens, it's like, well, like it's not great that this is happening, but like it's something that you can fix. It's something that's not going to be ingrained in your brain. Like okay, some of the worst things you can do as an author is use wrong punctuation. Yeah, sure, but you have tools like editors, Grammarly, Google, whatever. I don't know. That'll give you spell checks, grammar checks, whatever, and make sure that your book is not full of a bunch of mistakes. And if you miss a comma in your book, nobody's really going to notice. There's been plenty of professional books, books that have been professionally published that have mistakes in them that um, are misprints. My copy that I have of The Death Cure by James Dashner is a misprint. It has 5 chapters in a row printed the exact same. So it's like chapter, I think it's chapter 72 is printed like 3 times in a row on accident. So, and I didn't realize until I started reading it. I'm like, wait a second, I think I just read this. Like, wait a minute. And so I hope it didn't like cut out some of the story that was. It still made sense to me in the end, and I really enjoyed it because I love Maze Runner a lot. But yeah, like it's a misprint. It's a professionally published book through a publishing company, and it's and I bought it in a box set, and it was the only book in that box set that was misprinted. And so I have a misprinted Death Gear copy. Whatever. It's some of the quirks of having a book. You never know if it's going to be a misprint. There could be some grammar errors that aren't in the original copy that was submitted, but there could be missing a couple commas, or a comma could be added somewhere where it wasn't in the original copy. When you get it out into the world through a publisher, through self-publishing, there's small things like that just, it's whatever. Like, it's not a huge massive deal. And again, if you miss one comma, whatever. Nobody's gonna miss unless they're like over analyzing your book and like, wait a second. Technically, this is a run-on sentence. Whoa! If there's just one run-on sentence, come on, like maybe one person will notice. If your editor didn't notice it, the average Joe who is reading your book will not. So there's things like that where it's not a huge massive deal, but other things are more so, that are the worst things that you can do as an author, are very personal. It really doesn't have to do a lot with your story itself. Sure, there are things that are like writing practices, or like things in your writing that can be just not like not favorable, that you can change, and all of that, and maybe some writing habits that could change, but it's mostly personal stuff, like comparing yourself to other authors. Here I have a stack of books. If you're watching on YouTube, audio listeners, love you to death. There are a stack of books of some of the most renowned authors of all time. You got Stephen King, Susan Collins, Lee Bardugo, J.K. Rowling, James Dashner, all here, and they are some of the best writers, or the most profitable writers, that I think all of these authors have had their books turn into either a TV show or movies. Um, at Whether it's this specific book, or like Stephen King, I have Stephen King's Fairy Tale. Obviously his The Shining is a movie. Um, it is a movie. Multiple movies, but you have crazy, super successful writers like this, and then you have smaller writers that self-publish that aren't super like that have like decent fan bases and like not a lot of people will know about them, but their books maybe still get picked up by a publisher or and they still make like a good amount of money. I don't know. An author that I really, really like that I read, I want to read more of her books. I just haven't gotten my hands on them yet. But Alexis Henderson, I read her book House of Hunger. I just picked it up at my local bookstore and I read the back and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. I've never heard of her. I never heard of her work, but now I follow her on Instagram and I can't wait to read more of her books when I can get my hands on them. And she doesn't have that big of a following, but yet she was still in my local bookstore, my local indie bookstore, and just went through a publisher. I have a hardcover of House of Hunger, and I absolutely loved her writing. She's known for her gothic writing. That's the first ever gothic book that I've ever read, and I absolutely loved it. It led me to read a couple more of those kind of style books, and I really enjoyed the genre. So, like comparing yourself to other authors and then also originality, which is another thing that Alexis Henderson has. Like, it was a very kind of, it wasn't a very original topic, but she put it in a very original way in her writing style and within a genre that isn't one of the most biggest and well-known genres that I see like a lot of people talking about on like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and whatnot. And she made it into something that was like that could be picked up by someone who usually reads like a romance or a fantasy and they would still really enjoy it, which is why I think is what I think is so cool about that. But especially when you're comparing yourself to other authors, you can lose that originality that can come in a story, especially someone like if you're comparing yourself to Stephen King, who is a pantser, which is someone who just has a vague idea of a story in their head and they just write. There's no outline, no nothing. They just sit and write. And I think he's written all of his books like that. Like, and if you compare yourself to Stephen King, well, he's just able to sit down and write a story. You also have to say he's been doing this for so many years, and as well as because he's been doing it for so many years, he's able to just come up with a story idea and sit down and write it. And that's cool and all, but that also doesn't work for everyone. And if you're sitting and trying and comparing yourself to someone like Stephen King, and you're like, well, why can't I just not like just sit and write a story and like without like a fucking outline, whatever. The thing is, not everyone can be like Stephen King. Not everyone can be a pantser. I definitely can't. I mean, you could probably like, I've like half pantsed my novel that I'm currently working on. I came up with a very vague outline, very very vague outline, and like in between, like when I came to the plot twist, I had an idea of what I wanted the plot twist to be, but when I got to that point, a new idea just like it just popped into my head and that completely changed what my plot twist was going to be, but it made it something even better. And I wouldn't even call that pantsing. That's more so of just coming up with ideas that fit your story. That's more so of what it is. It's just like just switching ideas. And I mean, yeah, my outline was not, it was pretty vague, but because I had also already spent a lot of time building my characters, building all of these different elements of my story already to where I knew like this is where I want to go through with it. And my first draft, I would not want any nobody except for myself has laid eyes on my first draft because it was really 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 bad. And even my second draft I wasn't happy with. And I finished my third draft the other day, and I'm still like I'm a lot happier with it, but there's still things where I'm like, oh, like I have to add in this, and like, because I knew that I had to add in it, but like I didn't have any ideas until like I got further into my story. So I'm like, I know there's some things that I still get to add in after I have people kind of read through it, edit it a little bit, um, give me more ideas of what to bring, kind of bounce off ideas back and forth, and then I will continue with my fourth draft, and hopefully that is my fourth and final draft before the book becomes published, and I'm really excited for it. But overall, getting back to where I was going, um, yeah, just not comparing yourself to others and letting your originality come through, and just not letting yourself become blinded by certain things. It's like, well, like this person like was like published their book and it took off right away, and I just published my book and it's not taking off. Like, you're okay. You're good. Like, and obviously like you'll probably have like immediate friends and family that are going to want to buy your book. So you'll get some sales from it, but like obviously if it's not picking up on social media, that is okay. It is okay, because if you keep on going with it and have the passion for it, you're not going to want to like whoa, like kind of quit, cuz here's the thing. If you have the passion for something, you're not going to want to quit it. You're going to want to keep on going. Like, okay, like this wasn't as successful. Like, yeah, it sucks. You like just you're able to allow yourself to feel that like don't just like, well, like, oh, like I'm supposed to feel like just really passionate about it, and like why do I feel like it sucks? Like I'm not supposed to feel that way. Maybe I'm not meant for it. No. You're like feel your feelings and also know like, okay, yeah, this really sucks. This isn't happening, or like whatever I'm trying to do isn't gaining traction, and like I just feel really crappy about it. But I still want to keep moving forward with it. Like I still want to do it because I know this is what I want to do. Like just like allow yourself to feel the feelings and still push through, keep doing it. Especially you'll be able to push through more if you have a schedule. Segue, another worst thing that you could do as an author is not having a schedule or not setting time apart for what you need to like you're writing, and like okay, like your schedule can be okay, like I write for an hour on Wednesday. I have an hour of free time on Wednesday, so I'm starting with once a week, 1 hour on Wednesday. And that is the only time that you are going to write. And you can have some plan or prep time, and like you can like obviously like if you have ideas that come in your head during the week, like write them down in your notebook, journal, whatever you want to do. Sticky notes, stick them on your wall, whatever, or your cork board, stick them in, whatever you have to do. But the biggest thing as an author is keeping to a schedule and not straying from it. Because if you kind of dabble in writing, like, okay, yeah, I have my set time for Wednesday, 1 hour, but it's like, yeah, but like I have like a little bit of free time here, but like I could be doing something else, but I want to write, and that's all in good, but also not keeping to that schedule is going to also be like, okay, well, like here I am, I'm writing for an hour. Oh, but I got like 15 minutes worth of writing done on Friday, so like I can write for like, and there's some other stuff that I could be doing, and your mind is just trailing, right? What you're going to want to do, like what is the best as an author, um, is sticking for like, okay, I'm going to write Wednesday for 1 hour. Not focusing, just dropping everything else and just focusing on just straight writing for an hour. Turn your phone on do not disturb, do whatever you have to do, like put on some music, and like if you have a Bluetooth speaker, put on some music on a playlist that you like, or in your headphones that you can skip the songs in your headphones or on your speaker without grabbing your phone. Put your phone on do not disturb, put it across the room. Or put it in a different room, even if it'll still allow the Bluetooth connection or whatever like you have to do. Put it across the room. Do not be by your phone when you write. Don't. because I've done it and I've done it way too many times, and then I'll get a notification that my friend messaged me and like put it on do not disturb, and like if like obviously like if your mommy needs you, like you can edit the people that can like override the do not disturb or whatever mode on if you have an iPhone. And like so like if like well my mommy might need me, like then just put it so like put your ringer on and then set it across the room, and then allow your mommy to text you and call you on do not disturb with getting a notification, and then whatever. Don't look at your phone. Stop looking at your phone, because that's going to get you nowhere. And then that's going to get you being like, I didn't write enough. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Oh my gracious. I did not write enough this week. And then I'm like, well, I just spent that whole hour trying to write and I got fuck all done. Put the phone down. You don't need that. And one of the worst things you can do as an author is get distracted by your phone. The mobile device. You do not need to go on TikTok. You do not need to go on Instagram Reels. Especially not Instagram Reels. You do not need to go on Instagram Reels. I don't care how funny the comments are. I don't care how funny the videos are. I don't care if you want to laugh at low taper fade memes. Put the phone down. Put it down. Repeat after me. I will put my phone down when I write. Thank you. The next worst thing you can do as an author is just going through and writing a piece and then just scrapping it. And just completely scrapping it and deleting it. And by scrapping it, I mean completely deleting it from any device ever. I've done this with songwriting, where I wrote a bunch of songs. I had them in my notes app, and then I completely deleted and scrapped them, and I kind of wish I didn't. But in the moment, I was like, fuck this! And I just deleted all of them. And in the heat of the moment, because I was like, I hate all of this. I can't write songs for shit. Whatever. And I just God, I deleted it. And now I look back and I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? Why did I do that? I don't know. Because I was very angry. It was a very angry moment for me, and I just gone. They're gone. They're probably in the web cloud somewhere, stored in like a data center, but I'm not gonna go to a random data center in like Los Angeles or something and try to retrieve my old songs that I wrote when I was like 11 or 12. At this point, I don't really care very much. But like I kind of wish I kind of wish I had like my progression of it. And I don't have that. But besides that, just yeah, like words. Don't, if you write a book or even like an outline for a story or a beat sheet or anything, don't just like scrap it. Don't like just save it somewhere. You don't have to look at it ever again. And if you come back in like 4 or 5 years and you've come across it and you're like, oh yeah, no, yeah, I don't want this. Bye-bye. Then fine. Right? But you're also going to want to be like, oh, and in this moment I might be like, no, I'm not going to want this in the future. Whatever. And then you're going to want it in the future. There's time, like even like when your mom takes photos of you and she's like, well, you're going to want this in the future. It'll be great in the future. And now there's a bunch of like photos. I wish I had photos from this time of me as a kid. And I don't have any because I didn't want my mom to take photos of me. So now I don't have anything from like certain areas of childhood that I know. Like I don't have as many photos from. And it's fine. I don't really care. But I'm like, I kind of wish I had more photos. And I don't. It's fine. I don't really care that much. But, it's one of those things where it's like, you gotta give it a couple years. You got to give it a couple years. See how it marinates. You may want it, you may not. Just keep it. Just keep it, because you also get to then track your progress and see how this is where I started as a writer. Oh, that's kind of chill. That's kind of cool. Low key, high key, whatever. I don't know. I'm saying random words and I'm hoping they make sense in a sentence. But if you just save it, a bunch of artists still have their first sketchbooks. And and now they're great, fantastic, wonderful, beautiful, create amazing things artists. And they still have their first sketchbooks that look like doo-doo fart, right? And they look back at it and wow, I really sucked. But look at how far I got. Wow, look at how far I got. Look at the end. Because they didn't do anything like comparing themselves to other authors, whatever, painters. I'm jumping back to writing. I'm done with the metaphors. I'm done being metaphoric. Just keep your early writing, whatever it is, and then you're coming back and you're looking at it 2 years later and wow, I didn't compare myself to other authors. And now I'm successful. And now I have a beautiful, wonderful, fantastic, amazing, gorgeous story. I didn't compare myself to other authors. I was original in my writing. And even if I did a twist on Beauty and the Beast or Cinderella or whatever the fuck you want to do, it's still original in its own way. And I had a great writing schedule where I only just focused on writing, and I put my phone across the room, and I was very passionate, and I didn't scrap it. And even whatever it is, right, that leads you to that end point, you got it. You got it. You got it. Because you're not going to do any of those things. What? You're not going to do any of those things as an author, as a writer, as a whatever. Because they're bad, and you're not going to do them. Repeat after me. I will not do any things that will hinder my success. Hooray! That's going to be the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, don't do it. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to set yourself up for failure and set yourself up for a comparison and not be all in what you're doing and what you want to do, because that's going to fuck you over. Period. Yes. Thanks so much for watching. You can, if you have any questions, you can put them in the Google form that is linked in the description, as well as you can go to my website for my blog for more information on writing and other stuff, and gift ideas and whatever I put on my blog, www.writersblockpod.com. And that is also in the description, as well as you can find all my socials on my website or in the description of the YouTube one, because I'm not doing all that for Spotify. And it's mostly Adelina Zach, or my Instagram is Adelina Zach Author, which I also do 3 posts a week on there. So want to keep updated with me the most. I post the most on Instagram, and I do all a bunch of stuff. If you want to learn more about my book, that's also there as well. And yeah, ask me questions in the Google form if you have them, because that would be cool. I'll answer them here on the podcast, on my blog, or on Instagram. So, okay, bye.